Hello YouTube, once again. Welcome to my Axis and Allies 1914 video. Had a little bit of a break in between my last couple of videos and this one, but wanted to go ahead and jump right back into things. Today I wanted to take a look at the country of France. A second look. My first video that was specific to France had gone through each of the country's turns, Austria-Hungary, Russia, Germany, and what they might do, and then France's response to those moves. Today, instead, I wanted to look at just France in general. So we're going to consider a couple different ways that the world might look on France's turn and how you might react to each one of those. Not so much getting into individual, move 2 units, 2 infantry here, move 1 artillery there, but rather just speaking in general terms about the type of strategy that you might take. Now, when it comes to France, you have, you might consider it an advantage. It's both an advantage and a disadvantage. It's in that you are reactive to what happens. 2 of the central powers go before you, the 2 larger ones. So you aren't able to set the tone of the game as quickly and easily as they can. You're going to be reacting, especially to what Germany does on its first turn. It goes right before you. So there are some things that you want to be on the lookout for. Does Germany appear to be going after you, France, and not going after Russia? If so, you're going to want to build more in terms of infantry to give yourself potentially an extra unit or 2 overall and have better defensive power. You want to make sure, regardless of what Germany does, that you're able to keep air parity. So if Germany did not buy a fighter, you might be able to get by with your 1 fighter. If Germany did buy a fighter, you definitely want to buy a second fighter of your own. If Germany didn't buy a fighter, you could try going for air supremacy and getting a second one, but an argument could be made that you don't need a second one if they didn't get a second one. If Germany is going heavily towards you, you want to do what you can to consolidate your front along here and get as many defensive units up to the front as you possibly can. Make Germany suffer as many casualties as possible as it tries to push in here. Because eventually they're going to get next to Paris, their supply line is going to be really long, your supply line is going to be super short. You'll be able to counter them. You'll also want to try and get England to help you out as much as possible early in game. If Germany isn't going after you, then England is going to have bigger fish to fry. So it's very important that you are able to read Germany well. You're going to want to pay attention to that. If you see Germany making a move against Italy with Austria, there is a good chance, especially if Austria somehow takes Venice and Germany moves in there, or Germany moves into Switzerland on its first turn, that it is trying to knock Italy out and then it's going to go after you. May not always happen, but that's a pretty good indication. And so you want to be defensive. If you can, prop up Italy. If Germany leaves itself vulnerable along this front, either this front or Belgium, you're going to want to try and take advantage of that, even if it just pins down some German forces. Just make sure that it isn't a Pyrrhic victory for you. If Germany does not move into Belgium on its first turn, you of course want to move at least 1 unit in there to take the territory and get your bonus units. If you can fortify a two territory front, either Belgium or Lorraine, if possible. If not, Picardy or Lorraine, that's going to be your best bet, provided Germany doesn't try to expand the war. Typically, if Germany is going after Russia, which is their other primary strategy, if you can tell that, then you might lean in terms of your unit purchases slightly more on the side of extra artillery rather than extra infantry. And you can try and start pushing in here earlier in the war if Germany's left itself vulnerable. You want to get your units up as quickly as possible. Now, if Germany is focusing on you, you're going to want to pull out everything you reasonably can from other locations and new unit placements and get them to the front here to slow them down and stop them eventually. If Germany isn't going after you, you still want to move your guys up. You still want to be threatening in terms of the continent of Europe, but that gives you the flexibility to do some other things down south. What I see a lot of people do is just grab Portugal, get a couple extra units, get a couple extra production. One of the things that I like to do is to pick up somebody and drop them off in Albania. That way there are Italian troops there on Italy's first turn, and that can really mess up Austria, assuming Austria hasn't attacked Albania and taken it. You can also potentially, if the Allies are trying an all Ottoman approach, you can also position your troops. This is what you saw in one of my other videos about France. Position your troops so that you have up to 3 transports. You can bring them over here and try and either take or contest an Ottoman coastal province. And because in tournament rules, you are able to get your transport to move 3 spaces. It can get here, and then it can get over here on the next turn. And these, even in standard rules, can make it there. You can quite a few units there. Plus, with the tournament rules, any country can suffer economic or political collapse, which means if England is moving in here and threatening down here and over here along with Russia coming down from Mesopotamia, you could potentially knock the Ottomans out either economically or politically by the second turn, their second turn. Now, you have to keep in mind coastal bombardment. Where are you going to get those? Secondly, the artillery that is defending for amphibious assaults does get its first round of attacks, and anything that it hits gets removed immediately. So if that's a strategy that you want to attempt, you just want to be cognizant of where you might land and what the best opportunity is going to be for you to knock the Ottomans down. So those are the main strategies. If Germany isn't going after you, you have the flexibility to make some incursions against them and go against the Ottomans potentially. And if Germany is going after you, then you just want to build up your defenses and make them suffer as many casualties as possible while trying to get England in the war. You're going to want to coordinate with England as much as possible. And if, in order to help England in the war, you might need to move some of your navy around this way into the North Atlantic rather than move it against the Ottomans. So those are some things that I'd keep in mind when it comes to France. The only move that I definitely think should be done, or the only specific move to a specific territory that I think should absolutely be done, is this Albanian move here. It doesn't really matter if Germany's going after you or not to do that move, but everything else is kind of reactionary to what Germany does. Do you have the flexibility to do something else, or do you need to focus on stopping them? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this is helpful to many of you. If you have any questions or comments, of course, leave those in the comment section. I love reading them, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to get some more videos up shortly.